40 pilots flying nearly 40 aircraft for 2.5 months in combat, shot down for sure 16 opponents against the loss of 1 on our side.
Sincere friendship and mutual respect mark the collaboration between British and Russian flyers operating over Soviet soil.
Tim Elkington in the Cotswolds is 96, and he is one of the last, I think now 3 remaining, or possibly 4, Battle of Britain pilots in the country. He's the last surviving pilot from 134 Squadron.
You talk about the Battle of Britain, about half the public don't know what it was. Well, even fewer know about the 151 wing, which was a very important event happening. There was a morale booster for the Russians. It was to help the Russians. It was the forerunner of the 3,000 Hurricanes we supplied them with, which were great help to them. And we had a very slow trip out there, about 7 knots or something. It was a very boring time. All we could do was drink pink gin and play Monopoly and lower dice, that sort of thing.
Sun never sets in those northern latitudes, and they were obviously nervous about attacking German aircraft or submarines, anything that might upset their steady progress, but in fact there was virtually nothing, unlike many of the later convoys which were very savagely attacked.
And the great victory won by Russia was as much the triumph of the factories as it was the triumph of the army.
So we got airborne, and the brief was that because the magnetic compasses wouldn't work out there, the brief was to fly over the nearest destroyer, which was positioned in line with the place we were going to. And the brief was fly over that, keep going until you hit Russia. It's a big place, you can't miss it. You turn right, fly along there till you see a river, you turn left, fly down there till you find an airfield. That was a navigational brief. It was, rather unusual.
For courage and valor in action by awarding the Order of Lenin to the commander of the British squadron.
The Hurricane was up for just about anything you asked of it, and so it was an ideal vehicle to take off out to Russia and to use there with the pretty sure chance that it was going to survive, and that the Russians could take it on and make good use of it as well, which they did.
And the main thing was to get the technicians au fait with all the workshop manuals and that sort of thing. And a hell of a lot had to be translated from, on the spot, from English to Russian, which took a long time. It was a whole month handing over. They quite happily ignored half our teachings and sort of went very dangerously, often dangerously landing, but they survived. So we sat on our backsides for a month waiting for that to happen. People say, well, were there any civilians, or do you mean the civilians? They say, well, all the local people were more or less dedicated to the military, and all of them wore a 38 automatic on their hip. Early warning was almost non-existent. You knew that you might take off when the attack started up, when the bombers were coming. On this occasion, the bombs started dropping, and down 81 Squadron's end, and this is where the ground crew were the only people to suffer. The engineering people got blasted by a bomb, and not much damage, but blown back into the bunker, which was quite a near miss.
They were under attack from above, regular bombing attacks, and they were obviously at peril in the air, and they lost one aircraft on the second day of operations.
We were in an underground bunker. We sat there all day waiting for a scramble order. And that's about the only pleasure we got, get airborne, get after something.
You're going to fly and fight in a war. Your second level of thought is always, well, I hope I get away with this one. I hope I get back for my fried egg and whatever it is this evening from this journey.
The journey back was hell. We took with us Vic Berg, who was the chap who crashed on takeoff, killing 2 airmen. Very sadly, he fractured almost everything he had. He was in hospital there until we left. And he was in plaster cast. Because of this, we lived in our uniform all day. We didn't take our clothes off at all for 10 days because we had to get him to the lifeboat, if necessary, with the plaster cast. The seas were violent. We had to strap ourselves, lash ourselves onto our bunk to prevent being thrown off. The ice built up on the deck, making the whole thing very top-heavy, and we were carrying a ballast of slag which kept shifting. We had to keep going up on deck and moving us back and forth to try to keep the ship stable. It was a very unpleasant time. I think even then we didn't really have much thought or fear of attack. I don't know why, because it was very, very real.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to anyone who might be joining the RAF since it's the centenary this year? Is there anything you might want to say about the RAF or bring out now?
Well, it's a wonderful life. That's about all I can say. It's something to be treasured. It's terrific.